Should all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should all acquaintance be forgot on days of old lang syne?
Yes.
Happy New Year! Should all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should all acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? In days of old lang syne, my love, in days of old lang syne, should all acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne?
Welcome to episode 80 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Happy New Year. Happy 2022 to everybody. Listeners, a year of gratitude, you know, we make it. When it was 2019 and 2020 and we didn't know what was coming, we was looking forward to a year like this, you know, so we celebrated and be grateful for it now.
Days of old lang syne.
Yes?
In days of old lang syne, my love. In days of old lang syne, should all acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne?
Well, they tell me we end 2021 on a sad note. So let me start 2022 on a happy note now. Let me enjoy this and be grateful for every minute of this again. We here. We present. Plenty people in make it. So no, rest in peace to the great Kenny J. Rest in peace to the great Bomber. We're going to have a whole episode where we dealing with two of them. But what we're going to do first to begin this year, we want to talk about some things this year, right? Because, you know, sometime in the year we're going to start. We just all do this thing we call resolutions. All your resolutions yet? What are your resolutions looking like? How much miles you planning to run? How much weight you planning to lose? How much money you planning to save? How much new degree you planning to get? All you accomplished enough in life already? It's the most accomplished group of people, but all is what you call it? Ambition or is greed? What exactly it is? What is cause us to want to set more and more things that we want to accomplish again this year? I find only highly accomplished already. But I'm bringing back Neola, just like how we finished last year talking about Christmas. I want to talk a little bit about New Year's and get some advice from her as to how we set resolutions, why we feel so strongly about resolutions and why we set them. And do they work? Do they work for you? Because I try to lose my belly. I don't know. This resolution thing. Every time I start a year, I say, boy, this year I'm going to think I'm going to no belly at the end of the year, but the belly's still there. So I say, who better to help me with this than Neola? Let me check into Neola and what she had to say about New Year's resolutions now. What's happening? How was Christmas?
You know, it was nice. I say not like a surprise because I didn't
Yeah.
expect it to be so nice. Yeah. My best friend, she lives on the streets.
Right.
And she literally, what did I ask her? I asked her something small, and in her mind, it turned into, right, so we having lunch together, so I'm coming up by you with my whole side. And I was like, oh, okay.
All right, that works.
And it works, and they came, and it was one of the nicest times
Oh, nice.
I ever had.
Nice.
It was relaxing. We like that group. We always line together. So it's me, my husband,
Mm-hmm.
her husband, her, the two kids, and my brother. Like that was the group, you know.
That's good.
And it was just nice. Nova was there. She had a great time.
Who's this?
My puppy,
Oh,
my child, but for life.
I see. Call the name. I say, okay, this song like I'm supposed to know
Yeah,
who this
okay, so
person is.
like,
Yeah, it's like,
what's
who I
the
forget now.
trouble?
Always terrible with names. So here now, we getting buff.
What do you mean?
We getting buff. People say we end the year on a sad note, talking about one set of sadness, playing a set of sad songs, so we getting buff. I'm bringing you in. I say, we taking it
Perfect.
50-50.
Yeah, we could fix it. We're doing that today.
We're doing that today. All right, good. I'm sure people will be happy to hear that. I want to start before we even dive in to say happy birthday to my good friend Swazet John. You know the name Swazet John at all?
I know that name. Swazet. I think she was in UE and she's probably friends with William Mapp.
Everybody knows Swazet. She's the most known person in the world. You know they say 6
There you
degrees
go.
of separation? Swazet
Yeah.
just had one. Everybody knows Swazet. And it was her birthday this
It
week. So she
sounds
was the
super
first one to come and
familiar.
tell me, listen, only have bring a podcast now. It's a sort of sadness to close off the year. So we
But some people really took it on because someone called. He's like, I listened to the podcast and I don't have to say season's greetings. Like, am I allowed? Is that appropriate? And I'm like, bro, yes, you can.
no.
But they really, really took it on.
That's good
They
though.
did. And then before he invited me to do the work thing, he's like, I heard what you said, and I respect that if you say no, I remember you said on the podcast, no means no. So I want to respect whatever you say.
Yeah, one no is enough.
People taking us on. Look at that.
Beautiful. Reaching some people. All right, good. Here now we on 2 different wavelengths today. You know, look at what we're drinking and look at what we're drinking. We totally, of course. But cheers.
Coffee. Cheers. Yeah.
So how we getting back on this high note and this happy note for people for the new year?
People like to make New Year's resolutions.
Right.
And we are going to help them to do it properly in a way that they could actually achieve it. We're going to take a much deeper look at it
Right.
and, help it to really get on track. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
there's
good.
so many levels. Yeah. It's positive. This is positivity.
Oh, there
guys.
actually is a positive thing. I didn't even know that. I didn't realize that. I thought you was coming to cry
That's
again.
a
This is
great
good.
thing. So remember, I said I don't set resolutions.
Right.
I reflect on the year
Mhm.
because it's my birthday. New Year's Day is my birthday. So I reflect on life and the year. So I think if my birthday was January the 5th, I'd be doing my reflections on the 5th. I don't know that it's tied to
To
the
the new
year
year itself.
as much as in my year of life, right? Like, this is what I wanted to do, and this is how I feel, and this is where I'm going. So I don't know.
So this is your new
I
year.
just happened to be born on the 1st of January, right? Yeah.
So we're releasing a 1st of January birthday episode, or that's what this is? A special 1st of January?
That's what we did.
All right, I
That's
like
what we're
it.
doing.
I like it. I like it.
You
I
like
like
it?
it. So I on the next end of the spectrum a little bit. I used to like, as the years go by, I'm less into the idea of the word resolutions. You know, I used to be
Yeah, me
be big on the, okay, my New Year's resolution are these 5 things and I have to achieve these things or else, I was big on that. But now it's more, I really don't like, or I should say I like the feeling that I start getting somewhere around late November when the housework start to finish and as I going into Christmas mode and that kind of thing and work wrapping up a little bit. I start to get real reflective about the year that passed.
Yes.
And then I start seeing, thankfully, a lot of differences in what I was doing at the beginning of the year versus the end of the year. Whether it's physical things or me personally, physically, spiritually, work-wise. I like to see where I am now versus it's like a checkpoint. That makes sense?
Yeah. It sounds like an assessment,
I guess.
kind of like, okay, so this is what went well. Maybe this didn't go so well.
Right.
Progress. It's a progress checkpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like that feeling because I take pride in not being in the same place I was a year before. So I like to
What's
check
the
out the
feeling?
things where I made some progress and that kind of thing and see a little bit of growth or some betterment,
So you said you take pride in it, but what's the feeling that you get? Proud. You feel proud,
That's a
and
good
then
question.
and what else?
The feeling, I don't know if it's proud in that moment. It's almost nostalgic. It's almost like a, oh God, this is supposed to be a happy episode. I was going to say it's like a funeral for all the things I accomplished this year. I just kind of nod them off and say bye and start looking forward to accomplishing some new things.
Right. Instead of funeral, it almost sounds actually like a celebration.
A little bit.
Yeah, so I wouldn't frame it negative. So, for all the people who gave us
Yeah.
feedback, this is actually positive.
Yeah, as a celebration.
Um, yeah, you're celebrating your success when you check off, I've done this. I
Right.
think it's a wonderful thing. And I think one thing that we could all check off of our list is that we made it to the end of the year.
Hmm.
Most of our sanity is intact.
You know,
Yeah, most of it. Mine slipped a little bit there
right.
for a minute, but most of it is there. So let's check off that, we made it. Right?
That's
And
a good
that's a
one to
big
check
deal.
off. We're here, you know?
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
feeling that way, especially
So
last year, having dealt with the whole pandemic thing for the first time, really, for a full year last year. I
it
remember
was
late in the
new.
year
Yeah.
going into the office and thinking, wait, now we survived this year. We made it from a business standpoint, you know? It was like, okay, we
Yeah.
actually have our office door to open at the end of this year.
Mhm.
It was rough. It was touch and go at sometimes, you know? So I like that. We celebrating
So
that we're still
you
here. We have podcasts, we have business, we have our practice and so on. That's a good first thing to celebrate. You know what I mean? I
yeah.
like it.
So you see what you did. Was that a round of applause?
Is a round of applause? You hearing that?
You heard me back? What? So you see what you're doing is you're looking back and assessing the year, and then when you set goals, you look forward.
Right.
So it's a whole, is that 360? That's a 360 view. So I'm going to look at all these successes I've had, and I'm going to celebrate, and I'm going to look at maybe what I learned and what I failed at and what didn't work so well.
Right.
And then I'm looking forward. So this is what I want to get done next year. And we're going to talk today about why we give up so much on resolutions, because a lot of people do,
Right.
right? Why they fail, and what we should do instead of setting down these resolutions. There are healthier ways to do it that make them more achievable, I think. So we could start with, my first note was, why do resolutions fail?
Yeah, that's a
But you
good.
took a breath to say something.
No, I was actually
So
going to
go
ask
ahead.
that self. Like, why is the old way of doing resolutions fail? Like, I need to lose all this weight by March. What's the issue with
Right.
that?
So I think we do, first of all, I think we get caught up in the emotion and the hype of Christmas, so that we take that high and then we set goals according to the emotion that we feel right now. Right? So, you're on a high and you're making this big, lofty statement that may not be realistic or achievable.
Right.
Right? So I think we make them on a high, and we often frame them negatively. So this is at the root of it. So you just pick the perfect one. It's very popular. I want to lose weight.
Right.
Now that's framed in a very negative way, right? So what it means is, I don't want to be overweight,
Oh.
right? And I want to lose this weight. But what we miss is we don't go deeper. Why do you want to lose the weight? Is it
To be sexy in
like
these
a
streets.
health?
Make a comeback.
You want to be sexy in the streets. Okay, fine.
Right.
So, but that's your why, right?
Mm.
Okay, let's stay with that. Well, what makes me feel sexy? What does it mean for me to feel sexy? Does it make me feel young and alive? Do I feel attractive? Do I feel confident? Those are the things we need to address. So if you're losing weight because you want to be sexy in the streets, what does sexy mean for you? Youth, confidence, self-esteem.
Right.
Maybe you want to lose weight because you have a really bad habit of snacking in the night.
Oh yeah,
Well,
you're
that
talking
could
about
be,
me. Yeah.
right? So maybe you have a lack of discipline, or it's, not being mindful of what the body needs at certain times.
Right.
So we set these goals and we write these things down, but we don't really know why, like what's the deeper thing? What's the why, right?
You're right.
You have to reflect on, why do I want this thing and what does it mean for me? So first thing is, what does this thing mean to you? What lies underneath this thing that you want? And usually it's something that you want to change, right? I want to change. I want to change how I feel, maybe how I look, or how I live my life,
Right.
right? So what is your why? Dig much deeper. What does the why mean to you? And be very careful when you write a goal down. We do this regardless of New Year's resolutions or not.
Right.
but we often state goals in this really negative way. So when people come to therapy and I have the consultation first, the biggest question that I ask is, what would you like to get from the therapy? Okay, what do you hope to get out of it? And so many people say things like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to miss this person anymore. I don't want to be this version of myself. But that doesn't really tell me what you want, right? Because
It's framed in a negative way again, is what you're saying, yeah?
yeah, so what do you actually want to feel instead? Okay, so I want to be a version of myself who is more confident. You don't want to miss your ex-boyfriend so much, but what do you actually want instead?
Go back
I
with
want when I see him, right? So you could tap back, fine.
You know, that's my solution.
Or and it never works. Or, you know, I want that when I see
Sorry, go ahead.
I want that when I see him, I calm down in the space of, less than 24 hours. That's what I want,
Okay.
right? You don't want to feel like shit anymore. Tell me how you want to feel. I want to feel at peace. I want to feel calm. I want to feel hope. And then we break those down even further. What does hope look like? When you feel hopeful, what are the feelings that you have? What does your day look like? What are your thoughts like? And those are the kinds of things that we should be writing down and saying when we want to set our goals. So avoid saying what you don't want, say what you want. That gives you an actual clear direction to move forward, and on your trajectory from there is forward and upwards, right? So let's stay away from the negative goal setting.
All right, before we move on from that, is interesting the way, like, now that you say this, right, it's making me reflect on the way I frame some of the goals, as you put it, or some of the things I want to achieve. Well, what I'm noticing is that because I try to separate these things out in my mind, right, in terms of what is a personal goal versus it will come down to fitness or financial or also.
Okay.
And then where I want to do where family is concerned, or what I want to do where business is concerned, and so on. And I started to realize that maybe, so for instance, when I'm doing business goals or when I'm doing goals for a venture like the podcast or something that I want to do, it's framed really in almost where I want to see myself at the end of the next period. Okay. So I'll say things like more like, okay, I want to see 2 more clients close this year. I want to see us achieve a certain margin in the business, or get something in place for staff or whatever it might be. And but realizing that with my personal goals, it really sounds a lot like what you're saying. As talk about where I don't want to be. You know what I mean? I was just observing that while you were talking about that. So even if I talk about fitness, I don't think I've ever set out to say, okay, I want to be fit. I want to be able to run this amount. I want to be able to train this amount of times. I want to be even to say like this weight. I just don't want to be overweight. I don't want to snack in there. I don't want to. It's a lot of where I don't want to be.
Yeah.
That's interesting, though.
So if you had to say, I want to be fit, I would say to you, okay, my goal for next year is I want to be fit. And then I would ask you, what does fit mean to you? Exactly what does it mean? Does it mean I want to be more flexible? Does it mean I want to run my first 5K? Do I want to be able to do a split in 6 months? Those are really, really,
I
really
want to do the
things,
split.
right?
Let's work through this. Okay, I kind of like this one. I promised my little sister to do a split maybe 5 years ago. At about 20%.
20?
About 20. Very far from the ground. Let me put it that way. I'm nowhere near the ground.
That just sounds like if you took a big step forward. That doesn't sound...
A big step is generous.
Anyway, close.
But listen, let's work through this. Fit for me. Let me see. Because when you ask your therapists, I have a way of asking questions. That's basically shut me up, because when I say I want to be fit next year, I've never gone... It's had to be magic. Because I've never gone deep enough to see what exactly it looks like. So when I say I want to be fit, I mean, the first thing coming to mind is I want to be able to play football 3 times a week without feeling no pain when I done play football. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
So let's start with that. So I want to be fit. That's our headline. And then underneath that, 1, I'd like to play football 3 times a week. But you see how the end turned negative without being in too much pain? What do you actually want? Oh, see? See what I did there?
I don't know what the hell I
So what
want.
do you actually want?
I want to enjoy playing football 3 times a week.
Let me help you.
Yeah, please.
I want to play football 3 times a week. Now, this is small goal or big goal?
Small
like,
goal.
How long is the match? Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to
that's all.
play. I want to play 3 small goal matches a week
Mhm.
with a shortened recovery time afterwards. So what's your normal recovery time, like in terms of the pain, right?
Yeah, like maybe
How long do you normally take?
eternity about till thy kingdom
Yeah.
come. I'm just in permanent pain. Well, 3 small goal matches per week. Faster. What was it? I said? Faster recovery time. Okay, so it will take me a couple of days to recover. And I might go into the next game feeling a little niggles and that kind of thing still. So I would say if I could turn around or recover within the next day, I'm in a much, much better place.
Okay, so let's do 2 things now.
Sure.
How many matches do you normally play, like generally in life? Small goal per week.
Yeah, small goal. Yeah, mostly about twice a week. Consistently is
Okay.
about twice a week.
So I would, instead of adding a match, I would keep it to 2
Right.
because that's doable. You know, it fits into your life,
Mhm.
right? So that's fine.
Okay, good.
So I'd stick with 2. So I'm going to play 2 small goal matches a week. And I'd like my recovery time to be reduced to 24 hours. And this is what is going to help me reduce my recovery time. And under that, you put 1 to 3 actions.
Yeah.
So what's going to help you with your recovery time? Is it stretching, a cold bath, a balm,
Well, stretching
before, after,
stretching
breaks in
generally.
between?
Oh God, so I had to write all this down. Okay, so stretching generally, like day to day, like physio that I'm supposed to be doing that I don't do, and then
Okay.
stretching before, warming up and stretching before, as I've been told.
Right? Yeah.
All right, and as I go.
I think
And
science will be on the side of that statement.
I don't know about the science thing anymore. Warming up and stretching before.
So we're not using the trusty science thing. I'm actually talking about, I'm sorry, I have to say it. I'm talking about real science. So like I was an avid yoga practitioner, right?
Right. Oh, you are.
I used to be.
Okay, gotcha.
I can't do it anymore.
Mhm.
But you know, the research says that persons who stretch before sports, you greatly reduce your risk of injury and your recovery time is drastically shortened, right? So yeah, you need to, let's do tiny things. So I'm going to stretch before and after.
Right.
And I don't know if you need to put ice or heat on your muscles,
I should,
but whatever works for you, you do that. So we went from I want to be fit to an actual plan, which is behavioral based, it's action based,
Got you.
and it's measurable, it's achievable, it fits your life,
Right.
right? And it's things that realistically can be done. So we don't want to go too big. Your goals have to fit your lifestyle realistically. And however you write the goals, try to break them down into measurable, achievable steps. It must be measurable so you know when you're meeting it and when you're not meeting it.
Got you.
Yeah, because I could be fit could mean different things.
Yeah,
to
it could mean
different
anything.
people.
Yeah, I got you. I hear you. I hear you
Another
loud and clear.
person could be running a 5K every week.
Gotcha.
No, that's not me, but
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Now you mentioned something about physio. So
Physio.
maybe we could put that under physical health.
Mhm.
So what's going on with, you're supposed to be in physio and you're not going?
Well, I went. I had some herniated disc in my back. I was diagnosed with it some years ago. Yeah, so you know how that goes. But I did the physio for that. But I was the kind of man who, as when take tablet, as soon as I start to feel better, I done with them tablet. I do physio. As soon as I start to feel a little better, I done with that physio. I pass like a full bus. I don't even make eye contact if I see her in the street. So
So you're a normal human being.
yeah, precisely. So there's a lot that maybe physio should really be proactive, right? The idea is to do it consistently so that you're not in pain. I tend to find out when I'm starting to get too much back pain and things, then I'm heavy on physio for 2-3 days until I feel a little better. I done of that, you know what I mean? So
Right.
getting consistent with that would be something I add to this.
Did your physiotherapist teach you the exercises that you could do at home?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we could do there, because it might be hard to pick up and make the appointment and go back
Yeah, I ain't
because the
going.
habit is that you wait for crisis, right?
Right.
So we know you're not going. Again, let's be real now.
I'm with you.
You know you're not going, and
I
I
ain't
know you
going.
know.
I ain't going.
Yeah. So, you could set aside 15 minutes a week to do your physio exercises. And I would suggest you do it at a set time and you have an accountability partner. I don't know if Stacey would be willing, but you set an alarm and you don't move from there until the 15 minutes have passed,
Gotcha.
right? So we start in small and realistic. You don't have to make an appointment or go over there and take hours from the day to do it. But this way, you prevent the crisis and you're certainly going to take care of yourself. And it's going to help you to achieve the first goal we set, which was to be fit.
Yeah, it's part of it, right?
Yeah. And I actually think that's enough under the category physical wellness. I would probably just leave that there and then go on to, because you mentioned, so personal, physical, business, family, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Spiritual, financial, yeah. So I would just do like one small one for each thing.
Okay, so what's the thinking behind keeping it minimal, like keeping it small behind each one?
Okay, so the brain operates on equilibrium. Okay, so you have a habit right now where you're functioning here, and if you try to go up here, you're kind of jolting the brain into this new behavior when you don't actually have the practice behind it, if that makes sense.
It does.
There's no motivation, there's no gas. You're much likelier to fail with a bigger goal than a smaller one. And what happens with this smaller one is, so you achieve, this is your baseline, right? This is what you're doing now.
Good.
You achieve that small goal and the brain releases dopamine, which is the reward chemical, which is, hey, I did this thing, this is awesome, I am the bee's knees.
Right.
And then the dopamine, right, helps you to go to a bigger goal, and that's more dopamine being released. So the more you feel rewarded and the more you set in those small habits, the bigger habits get much easier to achieve. So it's much more attainable, those big goals, when you actually take the tiny steps towards it.
Right.
Those big steps, like there's no dopamine for anything because it's hard.
Of course.
It's hard to make the appointment and go to physio all the time when you're not in pain. Who does that? Nobody does that. But, right, but you do it once a week for 15 minutes, right? You stick to that for a month, you realize, wait, hang on, I actually like this. Maybe I could sneak in some Pilates in there.
There was a book I read called Habits. You ever heard of it?
I know, listen, you took the word, so it's not that book.
Okay, gotcha.
But one of my followers on Instagram, she asked me if I had ever read Atomic Habits, and I said no, but I heard about the book. I said, so what is it about? And she told me, and I said, this is actually straight psychology, and she was really surprised.
Right.
And she asked me what I meant, and I said, well, once you start practicing a new behavior, so the brain is going to form a synapse, which is that burst of electricity between your neurons.
Right.
And the more synapses you have, is the stronger the habit becomes. And so atomic habits, it's the smallest habit leads to the synapse, and the synapses grow until that's your new normal. And so the dopamine is firing because you've done these tiny habits, and now you can move on to the bigger habits. And that is simple, basic, pure psychology. So this guy is, making all this money from this book, and people don't know that you could literally just Google like how to change, and that's behavior change. This is all behavior change, and I have to say, like, this is what we do in therapy. So we break down those amazing lofty goals into the tiniest steps,
right?
And you achieve those, and it gives you the gas to go on and do the bigger things. So that's why I'm saying start with the smallest thing. I want to lose weight. Okay, how much weight? I want to lose 2 pounds a week for 6 weeks. That's it. This is what I can do to lose the 2 pounds. And also what I suggest you do when you're thinking about behavior change, what are the likely obstacles? So let's go back to your football, right?
Right.
What are the likely obstacles to you playing 2 matches a week.
Stacey Shepherd.
Stacey, I just appreciate that on behalf of wives everywhere.
You know how long I waited for you to ask me about obstacles so I can answer honestly? No, obstacles. Well, the thing about it is now, like we play Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday now, so nothing stops us from getting out there. I mean, the obstacle is really if sometimes I push myself too far. I really should, but if I'm in pain, or I really should just back off and not go so hard. So I would say that is one of the major ones, and then other activities that are critical, like I'm going to tell Stacey one time about the critical activities for next year, like Romy tournaments and so on. That could get in the way of cards because that's usually on an evening, and get in the way of football. It's usually on an evening. So if it comes, I don't hear we're supposed to play Romy Sunday already, so there's one day missing there. So those things, other than that, is right across the road from me, so there's not much in the way. And Stacey, I mean, I joke about it, but she's only, her obstacles come when I come home limping and can't walk and dragging myself in the door. She's like, look at you. She ain't studied me. She's like, all right, you continue playing football, man. You go.
That's your business. You want it to go?
Exactly.
So you see, because the goal was really small, you know, the obstacles don't seem to be too big to manage.
I'm with you.
Right? If you said you wanted to play football 5 days a week, you're going to have a lot of obstacles.
I understand what you mean.
And you'll get so discouraged, right?
Course.
And that discouragement, it affects the biology, so that your body is going to be like, nah,
don't bother with it.
I can't, I'll just head out, I'm done. And so we give up, right? Because we get discouraged. But small things.
I would say, and I think it's one of the reasons that at least I hear in that I never thought of it as being the Christmas spirit or the spirit of the season, making it feel like every you know, it makes you feel like you're gonna be on this high for the next 12 months. But you're absolutely right. Things gonna get anyway. Things will change.
You're not a robot.
Of course.
How do you factor in your mood?
And I like this suggestion as well. Yeah, of course. And you know, the thing about mood, right? This is what was one of the most interesting things about that book. The author is Charles Duhigg, and the name of the book was Power of Habit. Probably the same thing like Atomic Habit. I'm sure it's the same sets of things in there. He was talking about, and it's very, I never thought of that as psychology really, but is this behavior change? That's all he's talking about.
Yes, it is.
And he was using one simple example, right? He was like, okay, if you want to pick up a habit of running in the morning, he was saying just what you said. Look at the obstacles that would stop you from running before and after. So he said one of the things, I think he called that keystone thing, was to sleep in your running clothes and put your shoes next to your bed, so that you see your shoes there every morning. You start doing that, and he said it forms a, as you say, you said I can't remember the scientific terms you used, but he said a habit loop, and he said that eventually it becomes a synapse. That's right. And he's basically saying that it will become more automatic, or move to the automatic part of your brain where you start. It just becomes less effort after time. But you're right about that idea of looking at obstacles. Coincidentally, a partner of mine who I play football with, a guy called McCasey, was telling me this week that when he listened to the last episode, he said, boy, I feel like I'm doing something right, because I hear Neola say when you're going out and you know you're going into a stressful situation, make sure home is good, so you have something to come home to that's relaxing. He said he does that all the time, and it sounds so similar to that, because if I could anticipate, you know, you're in a space when you're setting goals to be able to anticipate some of the problems you might face, some of the obstacles, all the challenges, and maybe just put things in place from the goal setting time.
In addition to the external obstacles, I really want to talk about your mood and your energy, because you have to be realistic. How much, so is this a high energy output thing, right? And on the days when I don't have the energy and I want to be fit, is there something that I could do that's low energy? Because we're not always going to...
Of course. I really want to say not always, sometimes not usually, you know. It's life has been going on, you know. The rest of the year is the rest of the year.
So when I used to work in this building, so it was 32 stairs to get up to the top.
Right.
And
so the 2 flights of stairs?
And there's no elevator. 32 stairs.
Oh, steps. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and one of our colleagues, she used to actually put on sneakers and run up and down the stairs in the back, which I found was an amazing, amazing way to work around the obstacle of, I'm gonna drive in traffic. I don't have a gym at home.
Oh.
When I get home, I'll be too tired, and I didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I started doing was, I know I'm not going to go on the treadmill when I get home, so I would come up with different reasons to go downstairs. So I would make like 4 trips up and down the stairs, and I'm not good at math, but
It's a
going up
lot.
and
It's a
down
lot.
32 stairs 4 times a day, that's great.
Yeah, of course.
And then on days when I had a lot of energy, I would make a big block. So I'd do like Henry Street and Charlotte, and then go back down, cross
Gotcha.
Queen, go to Frederick, and come back to Henry. And you stroll on your window shop and you stop off by the cathedral. That's like 50 minutes.
Of course.
And it was so enjoyable. It was nice,
Mm-hmm.
right? The only obstacle would have been rain. And it helped me to be fit. So I wasn't lifting all the weights that I wanted to do, but I stuck in an alternative, and I went with my mood and how much energy I had, right? So, you don't have to set it so much in stone that, and this is the next thing is about giving yourself a little room for grace if
Sure.
you falter, because it's just okay. It's okay to not hit the target like every single time, right? You have to give yourself a little grace. I find that more and more. I don't know if I'm aware of this because it's something that I've noticed I need to work on, or if it's something that is really now presenting itself to my space. But I've noticed that we are so hard on ourselves when we don't perform
Yeah.
at 200%, 24/7, 365. And I keep having to tell, my followers and my clients, you are not a robot.
Not?
You are not. No, we're not. Newsflash.
Who knew?
And that's something that I used to beat myself up about, Okay, so I didn't do everything on my checklist today. Mine is like 40 things. Oh gosh, really? Right? So you did 35, and instead of celebrating my
course.
success,
You're down on
I
yourself.
did these 35 things. This is amazing. I lie down in my bed. I didn't do these 5 things. What is wrong with me?
You know,
And it
sometimes
would be
we
this
wouldn't.
just loop
Of course, yeah. I know what you mean.
of negativity, right? Yeah.
And sometimes we're so negative and hard on ourselves. It's almost like if you call me now and tell me, boy, Corey, I had 40 things to do, I only get 35, I'll be like, 35 is great. I'll tell you that, but I'll tell myself, the 5 things, something is wrong with you. It's like sometimes that negative self-talk is something else, You talk to yourself worse than you would talk to
exactly.
anybody else,
Yeah. If we had thought bubbles on top of our head and people could read the way that we speak to ourselves,
Mine would be rain clouds.
I kind of feel like, probably have lightning shooting out
Yeah.
of my ears.
It's a whole thunderstorm.
Yeah, it's a
wild.
whole thing. Yeah.
But I like the
you
idea.
have
So
to
you're saying,
celebrate your success.
yeah, I'm for that 100%. So where moods are concerned, you're saying no matter what the goal is that we set, one of the things to do in advance is to cater for the days when we have the down days or not the kind of
Yeah,
energy that we
yeah,
would usually have.
Yeah. So if I have low energy, what can I do instead? And everybody's different. Maybe if your energy is low, you need to rest.
Sure.
Or maybe if your energy is low, you just need to stretch for 10 minutes and roll your neck around and then
course.
roll your neck the other way. And that's your physical activity for the day. That's it.
That's interesting. Like the two things tie together so much because I feel like for me, if I was to do that in advance, right? So the gym is one of those things for me. I say, boy, I go and get back in the gym. I go and go there for like 5 days a week. And that's not going to happen. Like next week is week 1. I ain't getting 5 days, right? But what tends to happen is if I go for 4, I miss that one day, I'm feeling like a behind on the year, I let down myself, all that type of feeling, which makes it even more difficult in the week to come. But I do feel as though if I give myself the low energy out or something that I could do in lieu of, because time is catch up with your energy. I mean, it's the real world. I will feel less. It eliminates that guilt or that down feeling of I didn't do it
It
and I didn't
almost
achieve it.
sounds as well like some shame. It sounds like a sense of shame, which
Yeah.
is really impactful on persons.
I
Yeah.
suppose.
So in that situation, I'd set it to, I'm gonna go to the gym twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah, you and
really
me breaking down
that's
all my goals,
way
getting
more
small.
yeah.
But I hear you.
That's way more attainable. And then, it feels good. You see the changes, and then you kind of realize one day, wait, hang on, I've actually been doing 3 times a week now, and nobody forced me.
Of
I
course.
didn't feel shamed into doing it. It's just
Gotcha.
that I've been doing this twice a week, and I feel good. Like, I like this, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And once you build up those positive behavior changes, it gets very difficult to go back to the old way of being. Like the brain and the body, literally, they're going to give you a really hard time because you now have all of these synapses that are firing for this positive behavior change that it's going to actually be hard to stop. But you want to give those synapses a chance to form by doing the small things first.
So it might be just one of the issues with New Year's resolutions as a whole, because the idea is to go big, so much of the New Year, New Me thing. We should name the episode that, New Year, New Me. I want to be a whole new person. I don't even want to sleep on the 31st of December. I just want to
When
go
you
into
do the
12
flyer
home.
for it,
Uh-huh.
so put New Year, New Me and put a big red X over it because I am tired of this bullshit. Listen to me.
So no New Year, New Me?
No.
Oh, man.
You do not have to transform.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have, what is this thing? The page is going to turn, right, to January 1st, and the clock is going to, you're laughing, I'm dead serious. So the clock will go, so from 11:59 to 1 minute after midnight,
Right.
you're the same person you were.
Yeah. Oh,
You're
man.
the same person you were. And see, what happens is we shame ourselves. So, 2 weeks into January, you're still struggling with that thing you were struggling with last year. And it's this deep sense of shame. And I tell you, I see this, and why I reacted so viscerally is because I see this in session all the time. So bet your bottom dollar, January, February, March, most of my clients are going to be so sad and be beating up on themselves. Yeah. I can't believe I'm not over this yet, and it's a new year, and what am I doing? You're the same person. You're growing and developing, and I want to put a positive because this is good.
Yeah.
You continue to grow and develop and heal regardless of the date on the calendar, and your healing is not tied to a clock and a piece of paper. Your behavior change transcends all of those things. Okay, so we can have a fabulous breakthrough on Valentine's Day. And the next thing is that usually we are not even the same people we are yesterday anyway.
No.
We're not.
Changing all the time.
So, you don't have to do this new year, new me thing. We're growing and changing all the time. And your healing is big enough that it deserves not being tied to January 1st. Yeah? It deserves to be thriving and, kind of progressing slowly and peacefully, consistently throughout your life. I don't want to hear, I swear, if I hear anybody say New Year, New Me, I think I'll lose it. I hate it.
No, I keep going back and forth
Please
between the
don't do
personal and
it.
business when you talk about this, right? Because, that happens in business a lot too. Where in the beginning of the year, for some strange reason, we get together to set these enormous goals for the business in the first week of every single year. I'm talking to my father. I wish he was here. We get, because you're already talking about, hey, let me meet early in the next year and get back on
Would you
track. It's like,
listen to this episode?
I'll cut out this part and send it to him directly, so you at least he hear this. But yeah, he's listening.
Yeah,
He's
Dad,
listening.
this is for you.
Yeah, this is you. I'll name it after him. But yeah, we do it, and I think it's very, very tied to the personal as well, because it's ourselves. You're in the business, or you're in for you as the practice or whatever it is.
Yes.
So you're kind of throwing yourself.
Yes.
I got you. Interesting. I never thought of it that way, but it's really true. You're progressing all the time.
Yeah, and for those of us who are entrepreneurs, we bring so much of ourselves into the business that whatever is going on with your mental health and your wellness and your peace of mind is always reflected in your business.
And vice
The
versa.
best thing that you can do, I think the best thing you can do for your business is to be well, right? It's to be well. Because everything that happens to you is reflected in your business, especially if you're a one-man or one-woman show,
100%.
right? If you're tired, it's going to show in your business.
Of course.
Yeah. People say to me, like I had a few people, because this year was rough, and I took some time off from Instagram. I wasn't well. And I took some time off from, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And the responses were mixed, which I thought was interesting.
What do you mean mixed?
Most people messaged and said, I hope you're okay.
Right.
I'll miss you, but I understand the importance of rest. Like, there was that camp.
Oh, you announced that you were
And then
taking a break. You said that you were going to come off.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I
Gotcha.
said on Instagram because I read somewhere that it's etiquette to do if your business is on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got so many messages. I was surprised, and I said, it really is etiquette, because people said that they look out for like Mindful Mondays and they love to come and see the Q&As. It was very humbling and joyous to hear that.
Sweet.
But it's good. It was good. It turned out. So there was that camp, right? Like, you need rest. And then there was this other camp. Well, hurry up and get well, because so many people depend on you.
Sorry, what you said? Wait, hold on, wait. Let me hear that one more time.
Hurry up and get well, because so many people, and then there were all kinds of things like, the world needs you, the world needs your gift. If I am not well,
I got you.
If I'm not well, I am telling you, that gift ain't flowing.
Of course not.
That gift is exhausted and it's crying out to be in a bed somewhere. And I'm still, so that there's so many levels to that. I think it's the whole thing, like, you have to be productive all the time and you're always hustling and grinding. And, rest is seen as shameful. It's seen as unproductive. Certainly there was the lack of compassion. But I think it's more around our ideas of, we don't show grace to ourselves if we don't have the on switch all the time. So I suspect that those people have that attitude towards themselves and then projected it into what
it might probably be much.
Yeah. Usually, how we see and treat ourselves is what we put onto the world and to people, right?
Yeah.
So, hurry up and get better. That's an oxymoron, right?
Yeah, I wish we could know how to hurry up and get better. We just hurry up and get better. But I think people inadvertently do it as well. They really genuinely want it. They want access to you and so on. And taking that lesson of giving people out.
That sounds good.
I like the giving people the out thing. You know what I mean? Come over now, come and do this thing. So I've, even in sending out podcast invites now, I change it now to say, listen, I want to record with you and thing. But hey, listen, if you can't do it, I understand. No pressure at all. I don't want people to feel like if it's interesting. But I do have a question though before you go on to the next parts of the resolution.
Yeah.
The idea of shame. I have shame down as something you feel in the public. Why feel shame if I set private goals and not achieve the goals? How come there's shame there? Because I would admit that you do feel ashamed, you feel it, but nobody knows. So how does that work?
Yeah, I think it's the culture. I think it even goes back to school. So first, second, third, so there's always a child who comes last. You learn to be ashamed. Yeah, you learn shame from there. You didn't pass for the prestige school, you passed for this one instead. Shame, right?
Understood.
Let's hide mental illness. That's the uncle who went to St. Anne's.
Yeah, don't let nobody know who that is.
We have this whole culture of shame, and what it is it comes from we worship perfection, and we put people on a pedestal and we call them overnight successes. Most of them have worked for 10 years to have their overnight success, by the way.
I love to hear people talk about that.
Yeah, so we worship and we idolize, productivity and the hustle and the grind and the flash and the this and the that. And, those things seep into the brain and it sends these little devious messages where you compare. If you're not doing that, then you're just not good enough and you're a failure. And you said it yourself, if I don't make it, I make the 4 days and I don't make the 5, like I feel so bad. And I feel guilty and then I beat myself up. That's shame. That's shame. And there's a deep-rooted belief that you have to have the on switch on at all times. And if it's not perfect, then it's just not good enough. And it's a very black and white thinking, right? I am not encouraging people to be mediocre.
Of course.
But 2 things I'll say here. So there's this great channel on YouTube called The School of Life. And one of the videos is called A Gentler View of Success. And I think everyone should look at it. It's life-changing. It's short. The narrator has a British voice, so
it works.
It just sounds intelligent. And the fantastic thing about the School of Life is that each video is animated differently. It's a wonderful immersive experience, but the lesson is so profound. It's a gentler view of success. And a couple of years ago, this is the second thing, I was telling my husband, I'm so tired. I don't feel like I could give 200% in work anymore. No, I didn't say the percentage yet. I said I don't think I could continue giving as much as I give in work. And he was really appalled. Because one of the things that stood out to us when we got together was that we shared a very similar work ethic.
Right.
Meaning that we were both workaholics.
Nice.
Right? And he was so appalled when I said that. And I said, let me explain. What I mean is that I don't want to give 200% anymore. I want to give 98%, and then on the days when I have the energy, I'll fill in the other 2%, right? And then he understood because I was just doing like the most. And I made a little joke, which I realized after wasn't a joke at all. I said, what is this thing where we have to strive for the top of the mountain and the peak and the pinnacle? You get halfway up, you find a ledge to sit on, the view is gorgeous, the air is fresh, you're going to see birds, the breeze is nice. I'm kind of like a middle of the mountain kind of gal, I told him at the time, and he was horrified. He was like, where is my wife? Like, what did you do
come back.
to my wife? But I'll tell you something, I did not realize this would happen, is that when I became a middle of the mountain gal, my life flourished. My business, it grew because I got this energy from resting, I became a lot more forgiving to myself, and I had this energy that I never had before, that I then started to pour back into the business more strategically instead of wanting to do everything all the time. And little by little, I realized, hang on, the business is growing and it's going towards the top of the mountain while I'm sitting on this ledge in the middle of the mountain, and I'm really enjoying this view.
Of course.
So when I took that pressure off and I got that gentler view of success, I found it was much easier to be successful. Actually, when I took the gentler view, and it was something I didn't expect, but it just flipped right around on its head. And it works. It really simply works. And I'm going to circle right back to the beginning.
Sure.
Is when you set those goals, take a gentle view of them. Set them very gently. Set them with compassion. Make them small. There is nothing wrong with setting a small goal. Because when you achieve it, your brain and body, they're actually getting ready for the bigger stuff to come.
Yeah, that idea of setting these small goals, it runs so counter to what we like to do with New Year's. So I guess that is why one of the things why resolutions don't work, right?
Exactly.
What about the writing down part? What is it in? What makes it?
Some people are visual.
Right.
Some people are visual, but I've heard people say that writing it down makes it real. I've never written down a goal, but I reflect on them all the time, and that works for me. If you're a visual person, then you should do that. That's fine. But I think too, part of the reason why people say write them down is it gives you something to come back to and it's a reminder.
I suppose.
Right? Yeah. But I feel deeply about my goals, which I don't mind sharing. I feel deeply enough about them that I really do think about them all the time because I just enjoy the goals that I've set.
Right.
And I enjoy seeing how life turns out and helping me to get there. I've learned a lot more from my failures than my successes. And I would not be where I am today if I didn't fail so many times and make so many mistakes with the business that I did. And I've gotten to that place of grace and compassion, which is something we spoke about earlier, where I'm actually kind of grateful more for the failures and the mistakes.
Right.
I met some really, dishonest people on my journey to building up different things. They taught me so much. I'm grateful for that. And I'm saying that if you falter on the way to getting to the goal, please exercise some grace and compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
Because that is part of the process, and it's nothing unusual actually, and you don't need to fight it. You would likely, after the dust has settled, learn a lot about yourself from that faltering and that failure. Failure is a really essential, important part of goal achievement.
For sure, like two things come to mind when you talk about that, right? First, the physical part is where, I use the gym as an example again. You go 4 to 5 days, you start to feel like a failure, and then you start telling yourself, it didn't make sense. Somewhere along the line, you start to say, boy, it didn't make sense going back.
Give up, right?
And all of a sudden,
yeah.
with this lofty goal that you had for the year, you realize that a week passed and you ain't go at all. And 2 weeks passed, and then in no time at all, is a month and a half before you ever went back in the gym. Now you have to sit with yourself to try to reset this goal without the Christmas euphoria and punchakram and all that to go with it. So it's even harder to get done come March and that kind of thing. So I understand that. I wait here a little bit there. And then
and the next time you're going to think about it is in November, December.
For sure.
When the hype comes back again, right?
And you have the energy, you're feeling like it, right?
Feeling nice.
Of course.
On your radio, Scrunter or Baron? Who are we going with?
Well, Scrunter, 100%.
Scrunter, right?
Yeah.
Scrunter on your radio. Panchakram flowing. Yeah?
Of course, yeah, you're into it. And everybody in the same mode would have its own energy too, that propels you too. And then this
it's a monster that just keeps going.
Of course. And then the idea of failure, like, let me ask you, I find you do a great job with your social media. This is one of the harder things for me to do.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You do. I always see your social media looking up to date and snazzy. You always look. I remember sending you something this week, and as soon as I press send to you, and then the next time I opened Instagram, it was up. I was like, what's going on?
You were tagged, yeah.
I was like, what's going on in these streets? How are you moving so fast, But I do feel as if it's so good for somebody like you, who people might be looking at as an example of what they want to achieve. Don't underestimate that, of course. To openly talk about your view of your failures. I don't think enough of us do it. I don't know if Instagram and social media allows us to do it.
The world doesn't allow you to do it.
No, that's why I like podcasts where we could sit here for an hour and a half and them kind of thing.
And talk about it, yeah.
People need to hear it, boy, because I remember you had introduced me to Nick Dean, right? Who's the financial planner who comes on from time to time to talk about that as well. One of the things that stood out for me with Nick, and maybe that's why we have a great relationship now working together, is we spent maybe 45 minutes talking the first time we spoke. And most of what he spoke about.
Recording. This was just.
I wish I recorded that.
See?
That was on the phone in the car going down the road. That was precious, And a lot of it was him talking about his own financial failures and how he was able to start his business based on trying to get himself out of the hole, And it's so good to hear somebody say that, because it's an intimidating thing. You're going to a financial planner. You have so many things in your finances
Yeah.
that you could be
And
ashamed about.
he looks glossy, right? And the
Of course.
website is
When you see
perfect.
Nick, I say, oh,
But
God.
he is the realest,
Oh,
most
man.
down to earth.
Cool as ever.
When he shared out, because I heard him talk about, living in a room the size of a closet and eating ramen every day, I was like, bro, you?
Yeah.
And yeah, and he ended that story with saying, and you know what I learned? So I was waiting for this
Yeah.
like bombshell, and he was like, I did not die. I did not die from that mess and from that failure. And that for me was like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so
We
easy.
need to talk about failure
I
more.
feel like that, boy, because when somebody looks at, when you post stuff, it looks polished. It looked like you never fail at nothing. It looked like you land up here and you was lucky. You just get through in life. People watch you. They say, look, she get through. I don't
wish
understand
I had
it.
a screenshot. That's a good idea. I wish I had a screenshot of when I first launched the business on Instagram, how it looked.
Oh, wait, that
It
was
was the
so...
most...
It's like
I
mine.
have to dig up and see if I still have it. It was the most confusing, incoherent,
Yeah.
unattractive. I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? And I'm so glad. I'm so
course.
glad I made all those mistakes
Yeah,
because
learn.
it led me, And what it made really, really, really clear for me, it clarified exactly what I want the business to look and feel like, right? I don't want clutter or confusion. I want when you come on there. So website is launching soon.
Oh, sweet.
And it's the same vision that I had for the website. I want when you come there that it feels like my personality. It's calm. It's welcoming. There's no fuss. Like,
Right.
this is what you see. This is what you get. Be real and authentic out here.
Right.
And that is not how my first Instagram was. I think I was trying to be what people thought it should be, or like copy other therapists, and deleted the business 3 times by mistake, lost all the followers, lost all my content, lost my drive, probably my will to live, and just having to keep relaunching. And each time it really was better than the last time.
Well, the parallel for me is this. It's the same thing as going to the gym 3 days a week and then giving up because you didn't get there 5. In business especially, you got to find a way in them dark days when you nobody can tell nobody else how it feel when you delete your whole thing and lost all your followers. That is give up time. That is time to say, maybe this is not for me. I bite off more than I could chew. Of course, but something in us causes us to get up and go. So it's the same 3 days we make out of the 5. We do the social media, we get it up, but we delete it. And you know what's funny too? And I feel the sense of this with Nick as well when I talk to him, where when I talk to you 5 years from now, you go laugh at what you was doing today. You know what I mean? You'll be like, oh God, I can't believe my thing was like that. I can't believe it used to look so... Of course.
Yeah.
So it's so related to the idea of setting resolutions, whenever they might be, or goals. I mean, it doesn't have to be in the new year or anything. We don't have to start the gym on a Monday kind of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You could start in March.
Of course.
You could probably wait till February to set those goals and just give yourself January to catch yourself.
Right.
Like, why do we have to set them in January? 1 month off is okay. Some of us really need to recover from Christmas. Huh?
Yeah. Like literally.
Yeah.
So spacing it out in terms of how you set it as
February.
well, you find works, it helps.
Yeah. I'm really into spacing it out. Sometimes I set a new goal for myself in June, June or July, and I say in my head, this might take a couple of years. July, it's fine.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you said that one of the things that we said we would do is reflect on 3 big things that happened this year.
So one of the biggest things for me was allowing myself to take breaks and to rest, because that was really new for me.
Right.
And it was tough because anytime I sit for more than 5 minutes, if I'm not actually doing something, I make up something to do and I have to get up and go. So learning to sit still, and I'm still working on it, right?
Right.
Like today before the podcast, I I made a little snack.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down to eat and I did this. And if I could even bite into the quiche, I found something else to get up and do. And I just laughed
Before
at
you
myself. I'm like, oh gosh, you're ridiculous.
Yeah,
You
no
can't even
workaholic
sit.
and joke, you real McCoy.
You can't, it's ridiculous, right? But I'm learning to rest, which is big for me. The big thing business-wise was I worked on my website.
Beautiful.
And as I said, it's launching soon. So that was actually my 2-year goal.
I remember that was a journey for you. I remember you told me some stories about it. I remember.
Right? Met and trusted some
Of
wrong
course.
bad people.
Oh, man.
But I ended up in great hands, and I can't wait to launch it and just announce who the team was behind me
Nice.
and with me
Right.
on my side.
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing, I think I got a really better understanding of faith
Mm-hmm.
this year, because my faith in God is the biggest and most important part of my life.
Right.
And I got a better understanding that faith is really getting up and walking forward where you have no idea what's happening, but you trust that God has your back because he knows what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was younger, I'd probably sit around a little more, or like wait for a sign, or be afraid to take that step,
Right.
and I'd have to plan everything out. And yes, I do plan
Mm-hmm.
because you need to plan.
Sure.
But life is just this sneaky little bitch. It kind of likes to come and say, yeah, you
Of
have
course.
a plan.
All
Yeah,
the
guess what?
as soon as you
Guess
make the
what?
plan. As soon as you
Yeah.
make the plan.
It goes like this. But I've learned to trust more in God because he's this big and I'm this big.
Of course.
And I don't know what's going to happen next, but God knows. So I've learned that faith in action is where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
faith
there's
in
a-
action.
So you
Those are my watchwords, I think, now.
faith in action.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, because God has my back all the time. And sometimes you need to have that courage and that trust and get up and make a move.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
get up and make a move. Yeah, those are my 3 things.
All right. So I had to share 3
Yours
things. I had to
is
find 3
there?
things to do.
Yes.
No, Lord, where we
Find
going?
something.
So this year, we had 3 big things happen this year. Like work was one. We had a contract start this year that was something we've been trying to get for the last 2-3 years. That we finally got, and it's been the most difficult thing. I think this is the most difficult part
Yeah.
of my career I've ever been through. It's challenging,
Yeah.
is something else. But it's so funny. We had a conversation with the client yesterday. In the midst of all the things that are going wrong, I was happy to hear them say that they're committed to working with us. We want to solve the problems. They say, listen, we're sitting at this table. We could pelt, exact words were, we could pelt sauce at one another. We could pelt coffee cup at one another, but we ain't going nowhere. We're going to work this out and we'll figure this thing out together. So
I love this spirit.
yeah, I think it was really, really good. And I felt good about that for me because I slightly uncomfortable not working towards something. I don't think I'm a workaholic. Like I want to be busy,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I like to feel like I head in somewhere and I go in towards something,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been a little uneasy feeling for me stepping back more because I just can't do everything.
It's uncomfortable.
That client double the size of
Yeah.
the business basically, and is very uncomfortable because I'm feeling like I'm losing control of the thing. So the big thing coming out of that client this year, when I thought the big thing would be the new revenue, the new client, the prestige
Yeah.
behind the name. But the big thing ended up being how much my team has stepped up, and I seen whole different people talking to me. I don't know what to tell them. Every time they call me about something, I was like, brother, I don't know, You tell me what you want to do. You know what I mean? You have a much better handle on this than me. So seeing them get to that point is surreal to me. Now I have to find something else to do.
Yeah. You
This
could play football.
I could play for 3 days a week. Let's go back to this page. Where's the 3 days a week thing? I want to play football every day. But the second thing was podcast related too. Like I wanted to, this year was a year I felt like I wanted to do more of this, talk to more people. I always say talking by myself, and I'm trying to build a team of people who are helpful to other people like you. I mean, I always get feedback from your episodes about, like, when I talk to you, I hear from people who I never knew listened to the podcast before.
Oh, that's awesome.
They never tell me nothing. They never say, well, boy, that was a good episode. They never say nothing. They say, yeah, so come to Neola about so and so. It's like, what the hell is this? and it's like, I don't know if it was in the episode last time or if it was out. I probably told you this after we had finished recorded, but it's a lot of men, which is real encouraging. I think the tide has turned in terms of how men talk about their problems.
Landscape, right?
I feel so.
Yeah, that's an awesome shift.
When I was 20 years old, talking to men, these conversations couldn't happen. That was not, no. Shame and all this.
Drink, you keep that quiet.
You take a lot of drinks. The more drinks you take, the more quiet you keep the thing.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to build it, but one of the things that I really wanted to get done as well was talk to more Calypsonians, like do interviews, not necessarily the conversation type things. And this year I get to talk to a guy by the name of Mr. Shaq. And that was, so, I mean, I'm a real fan. I'm trying to come out of groupie mode a little bit, right? That was really great for me, getting to talk to him and just hearing his story, because I feel like in Trinidad, one of the things that we don't do very good at is documenting things.
Exactly. Oh, we don't like to write anything down.
No. We don't document. We don't. Whether it's photography, audio, video, it's so
Anything,
hard.
yeah.
Nothing. It's sad because it creates gaps, whole generation gaps, where somebody would not know who. Imagine this, right? We talk about Baron and Shadow and Scrunter in the Chris. Imagine a generation who'd never heard Baron before, like they don't know who's that. It's a sad
And you've
thought.
lost this huge part of our musical history. Like, that's a big deal.
We're losing it all the time. Because Baron and them men is the cream of the crop. Them men was mega
That's right.
superstars in the
Yeah.
time, so they will always be around. But they have people who might have been stars, but not superstars, who sadly will be forgotten. So
Yes.
I feel good about that this year because I've made a lot of inroads in talking to a lot of people, and it's always tricky with the scheduling with people and talking to them, and especially because I'm in groupie mode and I want to fan out and I know questions to ask. I just want to say, boy, he's the greatest Calypsonian of all time, over and over for an hour. So that felt good, and then well, family wise, this was a big year for. I didn't underestimate what it was, but we got married late last year. And this year was really a year where we were trying to get the house complete and make it into a home.
Yeah.
And I have an open space, living, dining, whatever you're going to call that. And kitchen now, thanks to you, I feel. A round of applause again for that. If it wasn't for you, you might have never have that.
I'll take it.
For the first time in... How long we living in this house now, boy? For the first time, I'm not seeing no Rubbermaid thing nowhere. There's no more Rubbermaid in my face every day. I mean, I still love my Rubbermaid, but at least it feels very, very homely and stuff. And
Rubbermaid has a way of sneaking up on you, and before you know it, like it's just mounting on top of your head. So, as a fellow homeowner, I have to tell
well, it's true,
that
you
is
know.
a big deal.
You know.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like we're moving. I feel like an adult, I feel like I grew up this year. I feel like a big boy now.
Yeah.
So that was my big three things this year. And out of those three things and sharing them on both our sides, I wanted to ask you as well, what causes, is it just the end of year vibe that makes us so reflective or nostalgic and that kind of thing? Or is it the same Christmas thing you feel?
Because it's an ending, I mean, so even if Christmas was in April, human beings, we love to attach meaning to things. And we feel very lost when we don't have meaning. So we're meaning makers, right? So the end of the year has come. There's something is closing and this door is opening and we have to make a meaning of it. And historically, the meaning that we've made is we must do something about the fact that one year is ending and another is beginning. We must do something about it, right? Who would we be if we didn't add a meaning to something as big as the ending of a year?
Like, you remember the end of the millennium? That was a whole big thing. It's like Y2K.
Oh my gosh, Y2K. We thought everything was going to burn down.
Of course.
And you're in front, and everybody's synchronizing their clocks, and you're like, what's that happen?
And then one damn
And
thing
not-
happened. Like
Don't
you say,
play
the
in
clock
front of
just
the
moved from
sky,
one tick to the
TV
next.
didn't blow up. But we hype up this thing, that was like a worldwide trauma, right? Like
Boy,
everybody was
listen.
just waiting for the world to catch on fire.
Yeah, you remember like having to sell your old computer and get something Y2K compliant. That was the most nonsense they ever had. That didn't add up whatsoever.
So we had to make a meaning of it.
Interesting.
We had
So
to make a meaning because when you look back, the information really turned out to be, some guy somewhere made a mistake and nothing was ever going to happen.
yeah,
We
yeah.
ran with it.
Of
We
course,
ran with it
of
because,
course.
so we're entering this millennium. It must mean something,
Of course.
right?
So is that why milestones, so like in terms of setting goals for yourself and trying to change behaviors, that's why milestones work so well for us, like the milestones or the checkpoints?
Yeah, because we want to measure, so the milestone, the meaning is, so I'm measuring my success, so I'll know if I'm progressing or not. And time and calendars and milestones, they're useful. They help us to know if we near or far. They help you to organize your day. They help you to organize events and behaviors and stuff. But we have to kind of accept the reality that not everything could be boxed into the time and the calendar. That's why I'm saying grace and compassion when you falter and you probably wouldn't meet the milestone. And that's okay. That's fine.
No, but I do get it though. I do get what you're saying. Like I remember you saying this last year. I think sometime when we spoke last year, you were talking about resolutions and why they do work. So I mean, it was good to get some light shed on it. I think you're right. In a lot of ways, like for me, I don't write down any of it either. I think resolutions, the idea of resolutions start for me somewhere around November. It does start for me with reflections. I was really excited when you told me, let's look at 3 big things that happened this year, because I tend to get driven based on the things that happened last year or during a period. Right. So I start by reflecting first, and I say, all right, it makes me feel like, hey, all this effort is not for nil. You're actually getting somewhere, you're doing things. Because sometimes in the drudgery, I never thought of this idea of Christmas being euphoric. So we're just euphoric and we want to set all the goals in the world. But you're probably dead right about that. Because somewhere around March, April and thing, you're just working. You're just going there, you're working. It's not a bunch of results. Of course.
About it, yeah.
So
exactly.
It feels good when I reflected on something last year. I put some thought into where I want to be or the things that I want to accomplish. And then next year when I reflect on it, I realize I achieved it, I'm on the path to it, I make one step towards it. That feels really empowering might be the word. It makes me feel like I could go again. Dopamine.
There's the dopamine. There you go. Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. And I taken on board what you said as well, because I starting to look at myself different. Just like last week when we spoke, I started giving people an exit from any lime they have. My father and them passed here today. It was the best feeling. My father, his wife, and his in-laws. They live in Barbados and they're here for Christmas. So they haven't seen us I haven't seen them in a long time. And then Daddy and his wife come through and, boy, listen, that was the nicest feeling, because now I feel like I'm bringing people into a home and actually have places for everybody to sit and it's comfortable and it's designed for this kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody was here and it was just a nice feeling. It was unplanned. He just called and said he coming over and stuff. And I feel myself saying, because they say they had to go in the bamboo, and I feel myself saying, but where are we going? Only no reach. We not going out of the food. And then I say, all right, calm down. Let people leave. Let people do what they have to do if they want to stay. You see, so I'm learning as I go along. So my takeaway, I love doing takeaways when we talk here because it helps me a lot. I feel like these conversations help me more than anybody else, to be honest. This is like free time. You need to start doing these as billable hours, honestly. Because now my takeaway is...
Do you want me to bill you?
No, just bill the listeners. They have more listeners than me. So we could split the cost across everybody. But the way you don't want to be, I am definitely guilty of that. At a personal level, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, I don't want to... And it's unconscious. I never realized it until you said it. Because I had to reframe the things I was reflecting on this year too. Based on what you said in the beginning of the conversation. Because my first thing was like, we were only getting revenue from one client and now we're not getting revenue from just one client. You know, those types. So it's so different when you just say it differently. You feel the difference when you express it differently as well. So
it's lighter, it's more encouraging. It's dopamine.
It's dopamine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So we had to create a checkpoint, before we go, Neola. We need a checkpoint. No. You are much better at this than me.
What you mean?
Meaning, I write down a whole set of thing here about stretching and all these kind of things. I want a checkpoint in 3 months to see where I am, because you just became a podcast accountability partner.
I'm going to write this down. So, March 22,
Beautiful. We have something.
fitness goals, ? Corey.
Yeah, beautiful. So listen, as usual, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I feel like I've been keeping you here forever. So, and if I don't stop, I won't stop.
No.
The more you say is the more I feel to ask.
Tell you.
Okay, good. Thanks. Please do. Anytime. Because the more you say is the more I feel to ask.
Yeah.
Boundary. Oh, yeah, you good at that. You teaching people how to do that and things. So who am I telling? But thanks a million. This was great. Best wishes to you and the family for the new year.
Episode.
It was good. It was
Same
good.
to you.
Yeah, best wishes. By the time people listening to this is 2022, so happy new year to all of y'all, to all the
Happy
listeners.
New Year to all of you. All the good stuff and all the blessings for you.
Of course. And we'll see a lot more from Neola here and see a lot more from Neola next year, for sure.
Yes, you will.
All right, ma'am. Thanks very much.
All right.
It's always a pleasure to have Neola on here. She'll be on much more during the course of the years. If she's the Dr. Phil to my Oprah. I figure it out to know. So I Oprah, she's Dr. Phil. So what I want you all to do, right? Because I usually get a lot of comments. As I said in the episode, people usually reach out to me. People comment a lot about the things that Neola has to talk about. And the light that she shed on all these issues, right? So what I want you all to do, however you reach me, come and talk to me, message me, call me, whatever you have to do. If there are specific things that you want me to talk about with Neola during the course of the year, let me know. And we could always put on episodes with those. So from here on in, we're back to the couture, bacchanal, cancalang, lacquery, however you want to call it. And we have plenty here to talk about, right? Because I ain't forget that Express write an article and say 2 people is what they use to prove that Sinopharm worse off than the rest of them. Salute to Express. Thank you very much for making me a lot of content for the new year. Salute to Adrian Schoon and the Soca and what do you call them? River on the sea, seas on the river, Ocean of the Pearls. Both for giving me plenty content to go into the new year. And much, much more. So listen, tune right back in. Don't go too far. Don't feel like because it's a New Year's episode that is a wrap. Stick close and let me get back into what is happening in the country on a day-to-day. But for now, I will talk to you all soon.